life. So even the last river that you can come to is called Vaitarni. So in Sanskrit it is called Vaitarni. You cross the Vaitarni and then you enter into another river. That's the last river you cross, and that's the end of your life. So you're looking for this meaning throughout the life. Yes?
So do you think these places came about earlier on with the stories of the deities, but it was really to bring us to the to some edge of whatever,
Yeah.
for us to sort of in the name of God or that deity go and seek that and then see the beauty or see the nature or just go beyond the comfort level. I just wonder if religion has some, not religion, but the spirituality
I wouldn't say it has anything to do with religion.
Spirituality.
Religion has added dimensions to it. Like for instance, every place of pilgrimage has this body of literature called Mahamatya. So you have people have been adding to those stories over the years. And the whole story of a particular place, that's called place making. That's how spaces turn into places. And they turn into special places because you say, oh, Shiva came here, and Shiva got married here, and he was faced with such and such problem, and then he solved the problem like that. So these stories get added over the years, but the place remains the same. How you interact with the place changes everything. So you have all that baggage with you. That whole Mahatmya literature is also part of the baggage. You come with the baggage that I want to go and meet Shiva. So people use a helicopter to go and meet Shiva. And they drop over his head and then they complete their appointment.
Someone bought a helicopter in Dehradun apparently today.
Huh.
There's a video that has come out of someone bought a helicopter in Dehradun. I don't know who that person is, but they have. Because apparently the traffic is so much in Dehradun that now all of us will need helicopters.
So yeah, people have to drop over Shiva's head to meet him. But then in their mind they think that they're going to meet Shiva. But is that an experience worth taking? I don't think it's an experience worth taking.
Ticking a box.
Yeah, it's just like ticking a box that, okay, I have bribed someone, I've got VIP darshan and I went in and I met Shiva and came back. Because in order to meet Shiva, you have to prepare yourself. One step at a time. You have to go through the rigor of being able to, being, capable of meeting Shiva. And that was what the whole journey was about. That you walked from one place to another, and then after having faced the rigor of the journey, every step of the way you were preparing yourself to meet God. And then you went up to God and met Him. So by the time you reach, if you walk all the way from Haridwar up to Kedarnath, I've done it once. So if you do it, you have no questions for Shiva. When you are there inside the shrine, you have no questions for him because you're already half dead. and it's just fulfillment that I have come and I don't know how I made it to this place. So this is how people traveled. And this is what travel actually is. That it's not an escape, it's not a break from the mundane, but it is about traveling at nature's pace. You have to slow down. You can't do your holiday at the pace at which you've been living. In the big city, you live at a particular pace. It's a fast life, and it's unavoidable because you have to survive. But at least when you travel, when you take a holiday, you have to slow down. Nature's pace is a pace of patience, it's a pace of prayer, and it's a very, very slow pace. And if you don't travel at nature's pace, you will never go back relaxed from a holiday. You will take a holiday, you will tick all the boxes, you will spend all the money, but what about the fulfillment? What about the relaxation that you were looking for? It will not happen. That's why people did tirthas. They went on tirthas, and that's why people touched their feet and sought blessings from people who had traveled a lot, who had walked through different places. And these were usually the sadhus, these were usually the saints that just walked from one place to another place. Even today, I meet so many people. Like, I was in a place called Thano, which is close to the airport. And there I met this person with about 200 goats. So he was sitting and smoking beedi with 200 goats around him. And I went and sat with him. And I said, Bhaiya, kahan se aa rahe ho? Where are you coming from? He said, Bhaiya, Harsil se aa rahe. So very coolly he said, I'm coming from Harsil. I checked on my Google map, it was 492 kilometers. So he had walked from Harsil to this place in Thano with 200 goats. And he said, and I asked him, how much time did it take you? He said, 3 months. So 3 months from there to here, and then 3 months back. Half the year I do it, half the year my brother does it. We have a common wife. So we have a home up there, we have a home here in Thano. This is where I sell the bull. Thano was a very big bull market at one point in time. So this is where I come and sell the wool. It takes me 3 months. I walk through the jungles. There's snow, there's rain, there are leopards, there are tigers along the route. But it's okay. I mean, that's part of how we live. And so one trip I do, the next trip my brother does. We have 2 brothers. And the wife looks after the family at home. So this is what people are still doing. We cannot even imagine an existence like that, but it's part of what's happening around us. So there are people like that. There are people who are completely abandoning concerns of safety. They are completely abandoning the whole idea of, itinerary. That since I have to travel, I have to have an itinerary. So they don't bother about it. They just walk. They just come out and they start walking and they reach a place and interact with the place at nature's pace. So I'd like all of you to try that sometime. That traveling at nature's pace, going someplace at nature's pace, at a pace of prayer, at a pace of patience. Yes, please.
I observe that the more and more the tourist industry caters towards people's desire for comfort and ease, the more scared people get to step outside of their comfort zone, and the unknown becomes more and more scary. If you're used to getting on Uber places, then getting on the bus feels like a faff or feels scary, or walking somewhere feels scary. And how do you think that we can tackle that? That on such a big scale, this industry is also manipulating us to make money out of that desire for comfort.
So I can give you an example from Uttarakhand. That we work with several village communities, and so these village communities have been the stewards of their landscape for thousands of years. Like if it's a small village, there is a community, 10 families, 5 families. They own a patch of land. They have been on that mountain ridge for maybe 5 generations. They've been living there, farming the land. And then all of a sudden there's a highway which goes next to their patch. And the highway brings in tourists. And today people want to escape. More and more people want to escape, and they want to come to these mountains. So eventually there will be a person who will come in and say that why don't you sell off your land to me or lease your land to us. We will set up a resort. And they will set up the resort. These same people who were landowners in that patch end up becoming laborers. They end up doing the dishes, they end up doing the cleaning. At one point in time, they were the landlords. Today, they are merely laborers. The tourism industry has taken over. Because someone had the capital. You said capitalism. Someone had the capital and they managed to reduce this community to labor. Why? Because people need to escape. So the tourism industry, that's the bone I have to pick with the tourism industry. That it is an industry, it is all about capitalism. But what happens to people? People who have protected the landscape, people who own the landscape, who have worked in that landscape for thousands of years. And because of them, the landscape has been protected. I mean, you wouldn't have this farm if there wasn't a community that was looking after the land. It would have been an urban sprawl if someone was not growing food here. People would have built colonies like they have built across Dehradun, across the whole entire valley. And so at one point in time, this valley was, in my childhood, it was such a place that wherever you went from the heart of the city, in 10 minutes, you would find yourself in a forest. Dense forest, with the wildlife, with the sense of adventure. Now it's all about pollution, it's all about traffic, it's all about noise. And it's all about nightclubs, restaurants, pubs, the tourism industry, as we call it. So, it has to be people to people. It has to be about people that when I travel, am I ready to come out of my comfort zone and make another person's home my home? I take out groups for village tours. We tell people, please don't carry your linen. People carry spotless white linen with them because they think that they'll go to a village and they won't be comfortable in their dirty beds. But we tell people not to carry sleeping bags, not to carry linen. And people get very offended. But they don't realize that the host community gets offended if you remove their bed sheet and have your bed sheet on the bed. It may be a dirty bed sheet, but you should be willing to compromise on that and try. Because only when you will adopt the other person's home as your home, will that person respect you. Otherwise, you are just a consumer. You are paying money for a service, staying in a homestay, and it's a transaction. So can we somehow come out of that transactional mode and interact with people as people on an equal basis? We may be well off, we may have the incomes, we may have the money, we may have the lifestyle, but is it necessary to show that lifestyle when you are traveling? So I think we can only counter this whole idea of the tourism industry scaring the hell out of you. That come to India, but then there are beggars, and then there are people who are always ready to cheat you for everything, but these are people. You have to be prepared, and you have to communicate and interact with people as people. And a lot of people are now signing up for that. A lot of people are trying out that idea that people who own the landscape, they are the people who can run the walking trails. They are the people who can show around. They are the people who can talk about the birds. You don't need a fancy bird guide to tell you about birds. If the local person can, with a bit of training, these people, they know all the birds. Unfortunately, they know the local names, they know the Hindi names. But the Hindi names are very, very interesting because every name has a story behind it. So we train people to tell the stories. If you want to know the scientific name of a bird, Google Lens will help you. In half a second, you can know all about the bird. But you will never be able to know the story which is prevalent in that particular village about a bird. And every bird, every insect, every animal that you see has stories behind. So I'd like you to think and maybe tell, all of you can tell us one experience that you had while traveling, which has stayed with you. If you can, yes, please start with you.
Well, we had 2 weeks off over Christmas from our course, and we all went and travelled in places. And I went to Kerala, and we got the Kerala Express, and we were in the sleeper, and our berth got double booked with this guy called Amar, who we ended up speaking to and having a amazing conversation with. And then he invited us to come and stay with his family in Kurungalu. And yeah, we had just the most beautiful time, being so welcomed in by his family and their neighborhood, and like exchanging, like they gave us incredible food and just welcomed us in so much. And like the memories from my travels that were the most full was when I was really meeting people and the knowledge that they had about the area and
Yes.
the things that they shared with me, and I felt so much more like I understood and was learning and was than if I'd have just gone on the way that was able to happen was also we didn't make a plan before we left, and that enabled the space for us to have that experience, and that really touched me and stayed with me.
So unplanned, completely unknown people, and then I think that's a special experience. Thank you for sharing it. Anyone else would like to? Yes, please.
So, a friend of mine called me and said that she booked this studio apartment in Ubud in Indonesia, and I should come along. So I said, very good, free stay, 15 days, wonderful. So I said, okay. And I bought my ticket and everything, and she kept saying, oh, I paid for that studio, I paid for that studio, so off I went. And a day before I was leaving, when her mother went into ICU, and her husband